Are you a beginner and have seemingly been stuck for months on end, same weight or making no progress body wise? Well, apart from diet and recovery, I'm here to tell you right now your workout probably sucks, and that's what's holding you back. It's not genetics. A lot of people seem to blame that. It's not. Most people should be able to make gains if you get on a good program. And I'm going to explain to you right now in this video what you can do to take action so then you can make sure that your workout doesn't suck anymore. So it's not a bad thing. It's all a learning process as well. Don't worry, I've also done many workouts that sucked, and my workouts sucked too in different ways. So let's start with the first problem is you're in the gym for 2 3 hours, but your intensity sucks. So I see this all the time. I see people uh, I don't know about nowadays, but back then there would be people who'd boast like, "Hey man, I've been in the gym for 2 3 hours. How long have you been there?" I'm like, "An hour." And they're like, "Oh, that's really short." Like, yeah, well, if you're training hard and training intense, you don't need a very long workout. And to be honest, most people, if they're in there for too long, I'd say 90% of the time, it's not right. Obviously, if you're a power lifter or Olympic lifter, that's a little different. But I'm talking about people who are training to look better. An hour workout, you should be able to get plenty done. Um, what I seem to notice is that either you end up being in the gym for 2 hours because you're sitting there doing really crappy sets, and I'm talking you can do probably 8 or 10 more. Whereas if you look at someone who trains hard and has a good physique and they're natural, they tend to push really hard to the point where they probably only have 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. That's something for another video, RPE or RIR, so reps in reserve or rate to perceived exertion. But plenty of studies have shown that if you want to grow muscle, you have to push yourself close to failure. That's just a given. Now, if you get sets in like that, you can probably only do about 4 to 5 per body part in one session before most of it becomes junk volume. That's what we call it, but sets that don't add much meaning or meaningful effective reps. Effective reps is another concept that just simply means how many reps are stimulating muscle growth. And anything past 5 sets, you're probably just doing way more volume than you need and incurring a lot more fatigue, which is unnecessary. So there's two types of people in the gym I've noticed who struggle with this issue. It's either they train way too hard for 2 hours and they do train really hard, but they're constantly sick, getting injured, and I've been guilty of that. So I would train really hard for 2 months, get sick, injured, rest, have to recover, then I'm back to square one. You're not making any progress there. And then it just gets really frustrating. Then there's the other group, which is in those 2 hours, they do basically no intensity sets and they're resting 5 to 6 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes between sets, hogging the equipment. Don't be that person, okay? And ideally, don't be either. Train hard for an hour. You really only need about 4 to 5 sets per muscle group per muscle group in a session, and that'll do, especially if you're a beginner. You really don't need that much. Okay, so point number two, your which I kind of touch upon, is resting too short or too long. So some people I see in the gym, they're resting maybe only 30 to 60 seconds between sets, and you're basically doing a circuit workout, but also a very inefficient one. So you end up not improving anything. Obviously, circuit training has its value. It's really good for building muscular endurance. It's fun because you have different exercises, which a lot of people like, even though exercise variation is generally not recommended for hypertrophy. Uh, it also improves cardio. But if your goal is to build muscle, you need quality sets. And each set needs to be taken to a very high intensity, which means you need to rest at the bare minimum 2 to 3 minutes in order to make sure that you can hit another quality set the next workout. The next set. If you're only resting 30 seconds, your quality is going to diminish. You're going to go from being able to do 10 reps in this set to suddenly only doing 5. So then what do? You drop the weight and then you do even poor quality sets, which do not stimulate muscular growth. So don't be that person. Also, if you're resting way too long, yeah, that's already a given. You're not stimulating your muscles hard enough. Some people might, if let's say you're someone who trains really really hard, and each set you rest 5 to 6 minutes. I've still definitely seen people grow really well, but I would also recommend working on your work capacity so then you can rest slightly shorter and get in just a few more sets. But to be honest, I would say resting too long is not as big of a problem as resting too short, unless you're resting long and the intensity of your sets suck. Then okay, there's a problem here. Okay. Number three, you have horrible technique. Now, here's the thing. There's horrible, and then there's more efficient. Now, what I've noticed in the gym is that less and less people are having terrible technique. Back in 2014, 15, I definitely saw some horrendous technique. And maybe the gym I'm at right now is a little better, and I still haven't seen what commercial gyms are like these days. I imagine because there's so much more information out there now, people do have better technique, but you definitely still see some weird stuff once in a while. But in terms of efficient technique, I will say for hypertrophy, 90% of the people in the gym do not train with good technique and efficient technique to build more muscle. Training for a powerlifter, training to be a powerlifter for ollie lifting, being faster or whatnot, yeah, that's great, but that's not technique to build muscle. You want to get as much tension in the specific target muscle you want to grow. So if you're benching to build pecs, or you're incline Smith benching to build upper pecs, you need to target that muscle. You don't actually want to use too much leg drive. Yes, you want to be stable, but you don't want to end up using leg drive, which is something that powerlifters use, right? Like the ability to drive through with your legs and put as much force into the bar as possible. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to recruit as much muscle fibers as possible. We're trying to recruit more muscle fibers for the specific target body part. So simply explain, a bench press, it can be done in many different ways, but there's usually two. One that maximizes pec growth, and the other that three different ways, maximizes tricep growth. And then the third one is to maximize the amount of weight we can push into the bar. And how powerlifters do it is very different. They have a bigger arch, less range of motion, therefore you can put up more weight. They also use leg drive. And they also use a very wide grip. Okay, so that's not what a bodybuilder or someone who wants to build more muscle should do. We'll talk about technique for another time because that's a long story, but you want to find videos or learn how to do an exercise that's specific for growing whatever muscle group you want to do. Okay. Fourth, you have zero programming and you don't log any of your workouts. I've seen this many times, and to be honest, you can still grow that way. I remember, I think the first couple of years of training, I didn't really log anything, but I had the mentality of just training harder every time, and that still helps you grow, especially as a beginner. And you don't technically need to log things. But I would say in general, if you don't log anything, how would you know you're progressing? Especially for a lot of people who've never come from a sports background. I grew up playing sports, so it was a little easier for me to push myself. But a lot of people just go to the gym thinking, oh, you know what, I'll just do this set today. I'll see how I feel, and therefore I will work out based on that. And sure, that's not a terrible gauge. I do like to auto-regulate, but a lot of people auto-regulate way too loosely. So you end up making no progress over 3 months. At the end of the day, if you want to build muscle, you need to progressively overload. It needs to be progressive tension overload. So you're loading the correct muscle, but also increasing the amount of weight reps you do over time. And there's a very high correlation between strength and how much muscle you have. Now, obviously, yes, I talked about technique and yada, 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 but we want technique that's focused for hypertrophy and then increasing the amount of weight we do or reps we do over time using that technique. And finally, number 5, I've noticed that there's pretty much zero programming. So a lot of people, which ties into obviously not tracking and logging, because if you have a good program, you will track and log things. It's necessary, and you can do that through either Google Sheets or printouts, logging down exactly what you do. And a lot of good programs will tend to tell you what you need to do in the session beforehand, so you should have a rough idea. And there's plenty of good programs out there. For a beginner, you don't even have to worry about what program you use. Almost any beginner program will work. And if you don't know where to find them, you can go on LiftVault. I think it's liftvault.com, but just go on Google, search LiftVault beginner programs. If you're trying to build strength, find a beginner strength program. If you're doing hypertrophy, find a beginner hypertrophy program and stick with it. They're all going to work because you're holding yourself accountable. There's linear progression, which just means that every session you're adding weight. And as a beginner, you can do that. You can make so much gains every session. So make use of that. Find a program. Stick to it for 3 months, and I promise you, you'll make gains. So yeah, in conclusion, like I said, find a good beginner program on LiftVault, get on it, 3 months, just do it. Stick to it. Don't think about anything else. Don't program hop. Just stick to that program for 3 months, and I promise you, you'll make a lot of progress. And I guess I covered a lot of it in the key points. So stick to those things, like making sure that you don't rest too long or too short. Generally speaking, 2 to 5 minutes is a good guide for most people, or good range. You can probably be in and out of the gym within an hour for hypertrophy. For powerlifters, maybe a little longer as you get stronger, because rest becomes even more important. get better technique, either find a good trainer, coach that can help you with technique, look up videos, film your workouts, film your exercises, see what you're doing wrong. If you don't know, get a coach, get a friend to look at it, and track your workouts, which is through programming. If you do all those things, I promise you, your workout cannot suck too much, okay? This is the video for now. I hope this helps. Peace.